America needs a leader who won't hesitate. A leader who, if necessary, will physically transform into a 2,000-pound gamma-fueled wrecking machine in order to get things done. That's why General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is running for president. Ross isn't some career politician. He's a career soldier. He's led armies, commanded top secret missions, and definitely hasn't created multiple world-threatening superpower disasters along the way. And sure, he might be known for being aggressive, but isn't that what this country actually needs? A leader who will literally break through bureaucratic red tape. And if you think he's afraid of political opponents, think again. He's tough, he's experienced, he's occasionally bright red and covered in rage veins, but hey, every president has their quirks. Vote Thunderbolt Ross for president, because when diplomacy fails, sometimes you just have to throw a tank at the problem. Paid for by the Committee for a Stronger, Angrier America. Welcome to Movie Postmortem, where we dissect films of all kinds, whether they're good, bad, or those guilty pleasures we just can't quit. I'm Reggie Hill, and I'm joined by my nephew, Isaiah Brown. Together, we're here to examine what worked, what didn't, and why we keep coming back for more. So grab your popcorn because no movie is safe from the scalpel on Movie Postmortem. All right, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us on Movie Postmortem. On today's episode, we will be covering Captain America: Brave New World, a Marvel film that just came out in theaters today, actually. So let me start off with a short summary of the film. In the wake of a powerful new resource discovery on Celestial Island, global tensions rise as nations vie for control. Captain America, Sam Wilson, is drawn into a high stakes conspiracy involving political intrigue, secret experiments, and a dangerous mastermind seeking revenge. As this international crisis looms, Wilson and his allies, Torres, the new Falcon, and Ruth, a former Black Widow agent, must uncover hidden agendas and prevent a catastrophic war, while also facing a shocking revelation that threatens to upend everything. So that's kind of the summary of the plot in a non-spoiler fashion for this film. As always, we're
Yeah.
going to have a spoiler-filled review of it. So if you haven't watched the film, watch it and then come back and listen to it later.
Yeah. As always, we are not a substitute for you watching a movie genuinely. Even though I personally think you can skip this one. If you care about spoilers or anything, watch this movie in theaters if you care enough. If not, just wait for it to come digitally.
Okay, and with that being said, let's start off with kind of our overall impressions and rating of the film. So I'll let you go ahead and start.
I'm trying I'm trying my hardest to throw out my bias when it comes to this movie. Because if you're new to a movie postmortem, you will know by fact that I am a like huge is an understatement, huge fan of Hulk as a whole. And so with my bias, I really want to give this movie a 0 out of 5. But if I throw my bias out and strictly look at this from a non-biased perspective, this movie's a 2 out of 5. That's the best I can give it.
Okay. And so for me, I'm a huge Hulk fan. The thing we'll talk about as we dive into this more, I don't think you can consider this a Hulk film at all, which is interesting considering how it's set up.
No, okay,
But
because here's the thing. I feel like watching this movie, they wanted this to be a Hulk movie before it was Captain America.
100%, this is clearly an original Hulk story that somehow ended up being, we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll
So
get
let
to
me,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. First your score.
Yeah, so my score, I would give this movie a 3 out of 5. I can't lie. I enjoyed myself in the theater watching this. It could be a lot better. I can't say this is a good movie. I could say it's a guilty pleasure, film for me because I think some of the things that it came after I was really a fan of. So for me, it's not awful. It's not even close in my opinion to the worst Marvel movie of this
Yeah,
phase.
the worst Marvel movie still goes to the Marvels.
Yes, I don't think that's even close. And so if people are saying like, is this like worse than now? I could name 5 Marvel films off the top of my head that are truly abysmal. This is not even close to
Yeah.
that. This
Well,
is probably best. I would describe it as disappointing compared to what it could be, but it's in my opinion not bad at all.
yeah. And before I get on my piss, I'll start spitting everywhere into this microphone. Let's just roll this back a little bit, just to give my own little testimony or slash confession about this movie.
Okay.
I did not watch Falcon and Winter Soldier until I was about to leave for the theater. Like I got my phone up and I was watching I watched 5 episodes, so I was getting my like clothes together and brush my teeth and all that stuff. So while I was like eating and stuff, I was watching this and it was like once I got halfway through the fifth episode, I was like, okay, I think I know enough to watch this movie now. And when I watched the movie, I kept thinking to myself, have I seen this before? Like, was that just me? Because like it felt like I've seen this exact same movie like multiple times before already.
No, I would say the interesting thing to me is that there are many things that you could watch to kind of get up to speed and do all your homework on this film. I think to me, this is almost the same story as The Winter Soldier.
That's
It's
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's just changing who the, secret agent is and how that agent connects to Captain America. It's almost just like a parallel retelling of Winter Soldier, where you have Isaiah, Bradley, the, super soldier instead of Bucky, retelling of Winter Soldier, which
Yeah,
to
the
me
inner
is,
circle being compromised,
yes,
secret
it's
mastermind,
the same thing.
literally just the same movie.
It's the same movie, it just retold. And so I think in many ways, that's kind of the strength and the weakness of the film, in my opinion, is that it's retelling what I think is probably Marvel's second or third best film overall. That's how highly I think of Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
So it's just retelling that story, and it's just an inferior version of that same story.
yeah. And here's my opinion. I pretty much have no basis to back this up, but this is what I think personally. I think Marvel is in this place right now where they're trying to remake their classics so people will come back.
I I don't know if it's that. My general takeaway when watching the film was that this film is in the wrong phase. I feel like when you look at some of the things they're doing now that involve some of the classic, characters in many ways, I felt like, wow, why is this in Marvel's fifth phase? This should be third or fourth at, best. This is just way too late in the phase that they're in right now.
You know what?
This
I'm not gonna give it the benefit of the doubt of being like, oh, this should have been another phase. I'm just gonna give it to you straight. I don't think this movie should have happened the way it was. I'll be completely honest with you. I believe firmly that for some reason Marvel just has like I think Marvel is just allergic to just giving Hulk another movie. I feel like that's what it is because the the whole time I was in the theater, I could not get that taste out of my mouth that whatever Sam Wilson was doing in this movie, Banner slash Hulk could have just done the same anyway.
Yes, 100%. And that's why I still even stand like that's why I say it's in the wrong phase. I think the biggest, interesting thing for this film is a direct sequel to The Incredible Hulk, the
Yeah.
second film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which came out in 2008. You could replace, like you said, Sam Wilson, Captain America, Steve Rogers, whatever you want to have in this film. This film should have been, in my opinion, phase two. This is like a direct sequel to a film that I think most people who watch Marvel films might not have actually seen because The Incredible Hulk was their film that was so like kind of unpopular, unsuccessful. They never did a direct Hulk sequel. And so while watching it, part of the time I was like, do many people even know who the leader was? And this whole plot where they
Yeah,
have to redo and re-show the same footage of Hulk and Harlem and Abomination. I'm like, they had to do a lot of exposition dumping in the early part of the film because I'm like, yeah, this is almost 20 years ago at this point.
and I'll be honest, I had no reason to get as upset as I did when I came home from the theater. But I think my anger just came from the fact that this is very clearly Hulk's movie, and he is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah,
And he
like I
hasn't
said,
been seen in years.
yes, to me, this is a film that you could have done in phase two. So going back to this, phase one of Marvel was Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, First Avenger, Captain America, and the Avengers. Then phase two was Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Captain America Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man. You know what's missing in phase two? A Hulk film. You know what that
No,
Hulk film would have been? This film.
no, we want more Ant-Man, right? We want more Marvels.
No, baby, this is years later before we even get to that garbage. So I
Yeah,
mean,
give me more Ant-Man. I want another Ant-Man movie.
so that's the thing that's surprising to me that in phase two, you had Guardians of the Galaxy introduced and Ant-Man, two properties overall that I think are far weaker than the Hulk. So this film, again, a direct sequel to the events, the characters of the 2008 Incredible Hulk. We don't get to it until 2025.
And it gets me even more upset that if they tried harder, they could have made this a perfect Hulk movie. It had the perfect ingredients. Leader, Ross, Betty, it was there. All you had to do was I'm spitting. All you had to do was give a crap and use the big gun that we've been waiting for you to use since Incredible Hulk back in 2000 whatever.
Yeah. And that's the thing where, again, like their desire to almost minimize Hulk's involvement as a solo property, where I think the Incredible Hulk is probably the only true A-list that Marvel had walking into this, except
Yeah.
for Spider-Man.
He is literally the big gun.
Yeah, the big gun that they did not actually use after, I guess, with the poor reception to the Incredible Hulk. Because, and maybe this might turn out to be a love letter to the Incredible Hulk film. That film ties together the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a way that was really nice that I liked. You have the addition of Tony Stark, Stark technology, you have the super soldier serum. And so even by Marvel's second film, when they made the Incredible Hulk 2008, they're incorporating lots of things together to really say like, yeah, look, this is all part of the same universe. Then they just got gun shy and never did anything with the Hulk despite all of these characters really existing in the periphery of what was going on. So you have Thunderbolt Ross, you have all of these other characters around, but it just seems like now, almost 20 years later, that they decide to revisit them. So yeah, that's why I say this just feels like a film that should have been made a lot earlier. So by the time we get here, and it's clearly again a hodgepodge of kind of two different films together. My first thing was like, wow, this is just several phases too late. This would have been a great film to come out in like 2014 at the absolute latest.
That's just my big, giant, green, overwhelming negative for this movie, Cause of Death. This should have been a Hulk movie. Just
Yes.
put that in the title.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I would say the thing that I like about it is that even when it's watered down, it's far better than anything that Marvel has produced recently. That's a low bar, that's maybe too forgiving
Yeah, that's
of
probably a
the
low
film,
bar.
you
It's
know.
man, Marvel, we are in a low point right now. Y'all just need to give a crap again.
Yeah, so with Phase 5, what you have is Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, The Marvels, Deadpool and Wolverine, this film, and then Thunderbolts. Marvel Phase 5 has been unbelievably weak. And I would say, like, out of all of these, I actually did enjoy Captain America the most out of the films that they've already released. This one,
Hmm.
yeah.
You would get some hate for that. I'll tell you that much.
I cannot say
There,
any of these films, including Deadpool and Wolverine, I enjoyed more. I actually enjoyed myself at least watching Brave New World.
well, not people that are stands of Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm talking about stands people that are stands of the third Guardians movie.
I mean, I watched it. I've never felt a desire to rewatch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I mean, like, it
No,
is what it
that's fine.
is.
I'm not giving you flack. It's just
I,
I
I,
know some people would.
I don't care about people who don't listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like,
To be honest, to also wave that flag, I haven't even watched the third movie.
yes. That's what my opinion always is. I don't care about the opinions of others. You can quote me on that.
Is this your podcast? No, shut up.
Exactly. It's my podcast, so shut up.
You came here
No,
to listen to my opinion, and my opinion is you're wrong.
exactly. So yeah, in my opinion, this is easily the strongest film, of Phase 5 for me. And I thought Phase 4 was pretty weak overall, only kind of held up by a lot of nostalgia with Spider-Man No Way Home. So, that's my take on that. So yeah, my overall feeling, 3 out of 5. We have Isaiah with either a 0 or a 1 out of 5.
Yeah,
And so
if I'm unbiased, I'll give it a 2.
okay, a 2. So we have a 2 and a 3 out of 5, and that's kind of our overall summary. So
Yeah.
let's take a break real quick, and then we'll come back with our causes of death or causes of celebration. Have you spent years as a highly trained assassin? Do you instinctively check for exit points in every room? Are you haunted by mysterious flashbacks that may or may not be real? Then you might be a former Black Widow agent, and you're not alone. Welcome to Red Room Recovery, a support group specifically designed for those recovering from elite spy brainwashing and general workplace trauma. What we offer: deprogramming workshops, because not every mission needs a knife fight. Trust exercises. We promise this isn't a trap. Probably. Tactical meditation. Stay calm even when someone says Budapest out loud. Career counseling, because ex spy is hard to put on a resume. Remember, it's not your fault you were trained from childhood to be an unstoppable weapon. But now it's time to heal, adapt, and maybe stop reflexively kicking people when you get startled. Join Red Room Recovery today. Call now. Operators are standing by, unless they've gone on a deep undercover mission again. All right, so we're back. And so now we'll dive into our causes of death and our causes of celebration. And so, considering both of our scores are on the low side, I think we have more causes of death. So let's kick off there with some causes of death.
Yeah, I maybe we should try to keep this positive as a first. So, because I'm gonna bring the whole mood of this down if I keep going. So, like, how about you have a positive? Because go ahead.
One cause of celebration for me, I would say, maybe it's part character, part actor. I would say that, Anthony Mackie, I give him a cause of celebration for this. I was worried going into this film whether or not he could carry a film like this. And I thought that he did a good job. I thought Sam was a good character. He's clearly different than Steve Rogers, but I thought he did a good job portraying, again, this is a guy who does not have super soldier serum to fall back on. He's clever, he's smart, he's got good fighting style instincts, and he's willing to just, put his body on the line to do the job. I thought it was actually a good portrayal of Sam Wilson as a character.
Yeah, I will say that. I this movie, I had my ifs about Sam Wilson carrying the shield, especially since I was 5 episodes in of watching Winter Falcon, Winter Soldier before I went to the movie. But this movie, yeah, I can say Falcon, you earned that shield in this movie. This movie was your Steve diving onto the grenade to save his friends moment. Because literally in Leader is like you're not gonna be able to stop Ross unless you're not gonna be able to stop Ross because you are going to die probably. And he's like, okay, and that's perfect. Just
Yeah.
that the it's not stupidity. Well, you could call it that, but it's that selflessness that really attaches itself to the Captain America mantle. That selflessness and willing to do the right thing, no matter even if you yourself end up dying.
Yes, 100%. That's where I loved when he has a moment in spoilers. I actually don't know if it's a spoiler. It might have been revealed in a commercial or trailer already, where Bucky shows up and he has that conversation with Bucky about, what he feels, trying to live up to Steve's, reputation, everything that he'd done before him. And the Bucky says, I think resonated deeply was that, yeah, like you're human, Sam. So like it's even more admirable what you're doing because you don't have these powers to kind of fall back on. So in many ways, what he said was like people can really admire you more than they could Steve because they could actually work hard and be you. They couldn't be Steve. And I think like that was the thing that you saw even in the film where the new Falcon Torres he even says at the end, like, I look up to you, Sam. Like,
Yeah.
you're the guy who's really out there that I want to be like. And that's something where, again, an obtainable, realistic hero that people could be like, that means more even than, somebody you can't be like because you don't have their magical powers. And that's a debate that they've had in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where Iron Man talks about what he's like compared to Steve Rogers. And, so I think it resonates here that same way that Sam is really putting his life on the line even more than Steve. So you respect him. And again, like I thought that came across really well in the film. I saw that maturity that Sam had where you saw like, yeah, he's a leader. You could see him, do that. He's being tasked with something unbelievably difficult during the not just this film, but with the whole aspect that I want to see if Marvel goes through with this. He's being tasked with reaffirming the Avengers. And you have to believe Sam Wilson can do that. Just like you had to believe that Steve Rogers could do it, you have to believe that Sam Wilson could talk these people into doing it.
Yeah. Sam Wilson doesn't have his the super soldier powers, the magic powers to lean onto. Instead, he has his 5 tons of magic metal attached to him powers.
I was gonna say I think Sam Wilson's real power is his like counselor therapist angle, which I like that they keep poking fun at people. Like, yeah, you're trying to do that therapist thing on me, but yeah, he's really good at that. Like, you want that like different side of, Steve Rogers who gives people the inspirational pep talks. And remember, Sam was the one who counseled Steve Rogers. So that ability to, kind of reach people and, help them through really tough things. I think Anthony Mackie did a really good job on that. So yeah, I have
Yeah,
to give him a call to celebration. He did a good job, anchoring this film as Sam Wilson.
yeah. It's also pretty good about you talked about the choreography, and I'll give Sam Wilson some credit too, because like we said before, he is not a super soldier. So when he throws his shield, he has to put his entire body into it,
Yes.
unlike how Cap would do it, with just like casually throwing it with one hand.
Yes, he has to really use his whole body. And I think that's the thing that I like about the choreography of this film. They've developed clearly a fighting style for Sam. Like you said, it's different how he throws the shield. It's different because he uses his ability to fly or to use the wings or to just use the engine for a short boost to give himself more power behind a kick or a punch or something. Where you say, like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, this kind of gets clever with like, what can you do? When essentially, I think that there's a fine line between Sam being Captain America versus being essentially Iron Man, where
yeah. It's funny because there in this movie he does feel a little bit Iron Man-ish, especially that scene in the opening where he just like kind of lands in that that mission area, and he just
yeah,
kind of he's like, wait for it, sonic boom,
Sonic Boom
literally
catch up.
literally does it like an Iron Man landing there. I'm just like, you stole that. I know you did it.
I know it, but it did put a smile on my face. And so like that's where I think, in terms of how to make the character different, I think they've done a good job of that. Like Sam was impressive even in The Winter Soldier, just to be real, his abilities with the flight and everything else. His only weakness was that his wings were so easily kind of torn, at one point in Winter Soldier, but otherwise, he really had some amazing flight abilities with that. So I
I
like the way that it had a unique fighting style for him and with the vibranium. Yeah, my only critique, like you, I was like, yeah, why don't you have your suit on all the time?
Yeah, and also like you said earlier, his wings get ripped off again.
Yes.
It, but to be fair, it's against Red Hulk, so
Yes.
I'll give that a pass.
So yeah, when you think about it, his regular wings were ripped off by the Winter Soldier, and his vibranium wings were ripped off by Red Hulk. So overall, he could handle
You
his
know
own
what?
with them.
Actually, it happened in Winter Soldier. It happened in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now it happens here.
Yes, exactly. So
There needs to be like some sort of super glue or something.
yeah,
He needs to invent a thing to where if his wings get ripped off, they can be reattached easily.
yeah,
Because
like
this is happening way too much.
and so you have a file on Sam Wilson. Yeah, just rip his wings off.
Yeah, 3 is too many at this point, Sam. Let's be honest.
Like we need a new weakness for you. But no, like I said, yeah, hats off to Anthony Mackie. Yeah, he did the thing, and yeah, people were cheering at certain points in the film. And so like I said, like that's the thing where the audience reaction, I saw it in IMAX and there were a good number of people there for, time of day I saw it, and he did a good job. He brought the humor. The thing that I like too is the way that they clearly show that he's not Steve Rogers, and that's been clear throughout the whole, cinematic universe. Sam is a regular soldier. He's far more lethal than Steve ever was. He's meaner. Even double. Yeah,
Well,
he's a mean fighter.
relatively.
Yeah, relatively. He's not just killing people, but he's a much meaner fighter than Steve ever was.
Yeah, because if we remember, Steve was a good man first,
Yeah,
Captain America second.
yeah. So I like that. Like I said, you would say like, yeah, this is not just a different person as Captain America. This is Falcon Sam Wilson as Captain America. And I think that that was the thing that had to be clear in the movie. You got a different guy, different, strengths, different weaknesses, but they did a good job. And like I said, Anthony Mackie, he anchored the film really well. He was funny. You just get a good sense of who Sam is. And again, seeing Sam as a leader, as he's taking on kind of his own sidekick with the new Falcon, I was like, oh yeah, I can see him growing into, a person who can lead people.
This is kind of like a compliment sandwich here.
Yeah.
For the few minutes that Red Hulk is here, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so, one of the things I like about this film is Red Hulk. and his rage, how he looks, it looks really good. We've come a long way with Hulk effects, going back to Ang Lee's Hulk to, Incredible Hulk, then the version they kind of stuck with
Yeah.
once they started the Avengers.
Because
I
like yeah, because we could go all the way back to Lou Ferrigno with that green
Yeah,
body paint.
exactly. We just paint a dude up. I love the way that he looked. And going into this, I was like, okay, like I don't see why you need somebody like Harrison Ford. I mean, I know literally why they cast him because William Hurt unfortunately passed away. But I thought Harrison Ford did a really good job of really conveying that sense of a man who had a very troubled past, who wants to do better, who you understand like he's changing like physically, he's changing mentally, he's going through these moments of building anger. And I thought Harrison did a really good job with those moments in the film. You almost see him without any special effects turning into a Hulk just because you're like, wow, Harrison Ford is getting really pissed off.
It's funny. You're giving compliments to Harrison Ford's and not Red Hulk. It's
Well,
because
Red Hulk looked good, yeah.
well, like as I said before, I want to give him more compliments, but again, Red Hulk is here for about 4 minutes.
Yes, and that's something we'll talk about in the script stitch up
We'll
where
get there
yes.
later. We'll
Yeah.
get there later. But compliment here, they could have just made him a Red Hulk, but no, they actually cared enough to give him his comic powers too. His overwhelming amount of heat that he generates. Things are catching fire around him. I did appreciate that.
Yeah, they do that in some great, big ways, some subtle ways of showing like this Hulk has different powers. Not only does he look different, but just the environmental effects that go on around him are really nice to see as well. And
Yeah.
so
The
I
rose the sakura petals literally just catching flames getting
catching
close to
yeah,
him.
fire. That was a really nice, effect that they did. I
Yeah,
really like that.
I like that while it was there.
One of the other things that I liked about the film was that the side villains. So films like this, you always have like multiple villains in order to kind of flesh out the story. So you have your secret, kind of big bad who is ultimately responsible, who is Dr. Samuel Stearns, aka the leader, in this film. But you also have a couple of other secondary, kind of ancillary villains. And Giancarlo Esposito playing Sidewinder. Sidewinder was vicious. I like the way he just showed up, just shooting people. Great fight choreography, great use of his
Yeah.
guns and weapons. He really added something to the story. And I just know from the behind the scenes stuff, he was a very late addition to the film and reshoots. And I can see why. I thought he just brought a lot to the role. And I really like having a character like that who was very just lethal minded. Like, I'm going to kill you right now. And I have very, clever, tricky ways to do it.
Yeah, he was perfect while he was there.
Yes. And so like you can only imagine if they had done more with him that wasn't just reshoots, the addition to the story. Like had he been there from the beginning, he was a really great character.
Yeah,
And I really
because
love seeing him.
like how we said before that this is kind of like a retelling of Winter Soldier. He literally is just like Winter Soldier in this movie.
Yes, he's Winter Soldier. He's a human Winter Soldier, and the way he's just so calculated, so lethal. Yeah, you see the same thing. He says the same lines Bucky says, like waiting for confirmation of death. Like his scene of trying to take out Sam Wilson by blowing up his car. That's exactly what Bucky did in Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So it's
And
like you said, you watched the film already when you saw Winter Soldier.
yeah, it's funny though. I had this thought like the when he pulled up on his car and blew it up with those like guns and grenades. I was just thinking to myself like, Sam, I love you, brother, but why are you not suited up all the time?
Yes, that's one of the issues I had with the film. I was like, why aren't you wearing your uniform? You have vibranium.
It's like you are Captain America. You are sadly the biggest target on American soil.
Yes, but unfortunately, like you said, because we've seen this film before, and the film we saw before, Steve Rogers didn't wear his uniform for most of the film. So they really hit the same beats as Winter Soldier, where it's like, oh, we got to go back and get the old suit for some, contrived reason. So you're not going to be in your suit for most of the film. Although for Sam's sake, it would be a lot more convenient just because it's vibranium. You would think he would have it with him at all times.
Yeah, like if I'm Sam, I'm keeping the Falcon wings just under my jacket all the time.
Yes,
Because
especially one of the things they showed, which I didn't like. I was like, oh, those tuck away into nothing practically. So I'm like, I assumed he was always having it on under his clothes.
yeah. Oh boy, you want to break for an ad? You want to go right into it?
Let's just go right into it.
Okay. Like I said earlier, this is the big giant green negative for me about this movie. This should have been Hulk's movie, not Sam's.
Yes, 100%. This, if I were to say, if there's a way to prepare audiences for this film, if for some reason you decide to listen to our, podcast before you watch and you still want to see it, which again, I would say like it's an entertaining enough film. I would say assume and understand that this is not a sequel to any of the Steve Rogers stories that you see. This is a sequel to The Incredible
Yeah.
Hulk from
This is a
2008.
this is a sequel to the Incredible Hulk with no Hulk in it. It's
Yeah.
weird.
So if you're interested in watching that, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is interesting. Because again, like I really like The Incredible Hulk. A huge cause of death for me was that the new Black Widow is so poorly cast, in my opinion, that I kept thinking, yeah, we're rewatching The Winter Soldier, but we don't have Natasha. And it was just such a poor casting for Ruth, this new, ex Black Widow agent. I kept thinking there wasn't anybody else they could get for this role. This seemed like it would have made more sense to have Yelena, the new, Black Widow, as this character. And I was just like, this doesn't make this sense to have like such a poor character added to the story. Because again, we're just watching the Winter Soldier again. So one of the things that make the Winter Soldier work, that was great work by Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. I think that's actually her best Black Widow performance was in Winter Soldier. And so here where Sam gets this new Black Widow sidekick who
Yeah.
is just terrible.
She's just there.
She's just there. So I couldn't understand. I was like, great. I know, because again, we did this way too late. So you can't have Natasha do this because again, it'd be a direct repeat of Winter Soldier then. But I was like, I just felt like if you can't get Yelena to do this, you have to have a better, casted role for that. That was
Yeah.
such a huge cause of death for me in this film is that she is just so uninteresting to watch in every way, shape, or form.
And it's no shame to the actress. I'm sure
No, like
I'm,
I
I'm, I'm
just
sure I'm sure before they decide on this final product, I'm sure you could have been a whole lot better. But for what they gave you, you were just nothing in this movie.
Yeah, like I felt like there must have been something cut because it just doesn't make any sense. So like that was to me a big thing where you can't have essentially a film where Sam is going to kind of play off his allies, where one of his allies, the new Falcon gets sidelined and he's stuck with this new Black Widow and she's just like you said, she's just there. She's not interesting. They don't have any good banter. There's no history between them. So it just falls completely flat. And I was like, I don't know why they cast this actress. I just could not really see any redeeming qualities, for this character at all. Like I felt like that was something that I could not wrap my head around why she was in the film.
Yeah. Okay, before I talk about the other one, let's move on to the other green negative of this movie.
Okay.
Leader. Oh boy. First of all, leader, I Marvel, I don't why'd you do this? He looks terrible.
Yeah, it's
I understand you were trying to go for the gross out thing. I get that, but you could have just made him look comic accurate with his huge forehead and longer head. Like I get you wanted to make it look like his brain enlarged to the point where it was hurting him, but like no, it didn't work. It just that was awful. He didn't even look like leader. He just looked like generic super smart guy number 30 who happened to be spray painted green.
Yeah, and I would honestly argue that it was a slow reveal. So throughout the film, if you know who the character or the leader is, if you remember him from 2008 Incredible Hulk, where they showed when Bruce's blood drips into his head and you see his head starting to grow. In this film, they show him in shadows. You see his eyes glowing, and you're kind of waiting for a long time to see the reveal of what he looks like. And then when they showed it, my initial thought was like, "Oh, that's it." Like he just kind of has like almost like a broccoli, not even broccoli, kind of had like these big lumps and
It's
bumps
it's
coming out of
literally
his head.
it's like his head is cauliflower.
Yeah, like cauliflower. And so I was like, that's it. And so like I felt like they just didn't go far enough. Like you said, maybe I don't even say comic accurate. I didn't really even feel like, oh, you're showing me that this guy has a super large brain. I didn't even think it was big enough. I just thought it was just kind of lumpy.
Marvel, here's what you do. You have you been taught before show don't tell? Because besides Lear's big master plan to make Japan and America allies while making Ross look like an idiot, for the most part he's just like, I'm so smart. I'm smart, right? See how smart I am? I'm smarter than you. That's most of his lines.
Very true. Yeah.
I'm just like, my God, just shut up for a minute and do smart things instead of just talk about how smart you are.
Yes, I agree that that was a cause of death, where essentially what they're saying the leader is he's a guy who has thought about every possible scenario and all the probabilities, and he's thought about everything that can happen. So he's basically I'm 400 steps ahead of everybody, which is hilarious because that's the exact same plot for the latest Mission Impossible. Like Dead Reckoning, that's the exact same like thing, like the super convoluted algorithm. It's like we know
Yeah.
how Ethan Hunt is going to react because like so that's I was like okay, they ripped off the exact same story. You know, we get it, like you said, the funny thing is like nothing that the leader is doing it requires that much intelligence.
Yeah, and not only that, but again, we've seen this thing happen. We've seen this happen like beat for beat back in Winter Soldier. Well, back when Cap and Natasha they discovered the computer with what's his name
Yes.
in it? I can't remember his name.
Yes.
This we've literally seen this happen again, where our own government and our like protection agency is compromised from the inside out. We've seen this before, and it was better then, and it did not work as well here.
Yes, it's the repeat of Armin Zola. So it's
Yeah,
like,
that's his name.
yeah, like this is the super smart thing. I've thought about everything. I've already planned all of this. And that's where I felt like, okay, that's where it's clearly a retread of Winter Soldier, and it's not doing a good enough job. Because here, the only difference, and this was also another maybe it's a kind of ancillary cause of death. I thought it took them way too long to figure out what was going on. Where, Isaiah Bradley, the super soldier, and like five or six other people attempt to kill the president and all these other people. They're like, I don't understand how this has happened. I was like, well, I would assume, first of all, it could have been that they were triggered by code words or something because that literally has already happened and you know about this.
Yeah, it's
So,
see this movie has a big sin to where the entire movie is kind of like a mystery that the audience already knows.
yes. And it's not even that. Like, I kept thinking, like, well, Sam has to know that he's probably just been triggered and he's like taking direction from
Uh,
some kind of,
that's like the
secret
that's like the
words.
worst thing. Also, Sam is literally the person that would be able to say like, no, there's got to be like some mind control thing happening. I've
Yeah.
literally seen it happen before,
Yeah.
and nobody believes him until they get solid proof. I'm just like, why would you not believe him? He's
Yeah.
friends with the Winter Soldier, the
Yeah. I didn't
guy
even know why
that had
Sam.
code words removed from his head. Like, how do we not believe this already?
Yeah. So I was like, it took him like way too long to get to that point. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Where again, like I said, when you look at what the story is, that's how it's so closely tied to Winter Soldier. Like we're doing the same beats as if we don't already know that the Winter Soldier exists and is best friends with Wilson. So I was just like, yeah, that's redoing the beats like way too much. So I agree. Yeah, show don't tell. Show me that, you know, the leader is actually really smart. All they say is that, yeah, he's been helping the president, President Ross, do all this stuff and create all these weapons. But yeah, what weapons? What did he do? Like nothing he does, even in this film, require that
Yeah,
much intelligence.
from what we've shown, the best thing he did for the president was make those little gamma pills.
Yes, exactly. He was a really good doctor and scientist.
Which is interesting because I'm just like, how does gamma radiation even work in Marvel anymore?
Gamma radiation works however they need it to work.
And not only that, at the end of the movie, Lear looks stupid. He literally gives himself up to the authorities when his master plan is to let Ross Hulk out, and then he just gives himself up. I'm just like, why?
Yeah, and that's where I feel like Marvel was trying to solve one problem and they created or they fell into kind of another trope problem. There, in my mind, was no reason that the leader had to give himself up at the end of this film. All he had to do was release all the files he had on Ross, and that
Yeah,
accomplished the same thing. His whole that's the thing that was kind of underwhelming. You realize his entire plot was like, I'm going to make the president so mad that he turns into a literal monster. Which is
yeah.
like,
Well,
it's not that complicated.
and also, what on earth was his end goal? It's like, okay, Japan and America is at war. Red Hulk is going rogue. What next? He doesn't even say like, oh yes, from he doesn't even say anything like intelligent or like cool or like mastermind. Like from the ashes, I will be the new ruler. Yeah,
Um,
and so I'm just sitting there thinking like, this is the leader.
yeah,
This
it's
isn't the
gonna
leader. This is the hall monitor, pretty much.
yeah. This is a guy whose his ultimate grudge is that he thought that Ross would give him a pardon when he became president, and he doesn't get one. So he's like, "I'm going to let everybody know that you're a monster," which doesn't make any sense because like if Ross is not president, you're still not going to get a pardon. So it doesn't make any sense for his ultimate goal.
And not only and not only that, everyone already knows that Ross is a POS.
Exactly. So I'm saying like it's not a big thing because like nobody likes Thunderbolt Ross. So it really is a very convoluted plot that was not worthy of the leader's actual, intelligence and brain and all that. So I felt like, yeah, it's too weak. It's not really using the leader for all they could actually do. And yeah, like I said, actually commit. I want a guy with a brain that's like 3 feet high. They'll give me this watered down version, and like you said, show him do something impressive.
And someone in the comment section of a review I was listening to on the way back voiced this like correctly to where Lear's intelligence in this movie is hindered by writers not knowing how to write him properly. And that's very evident here. Like you cannot convince me that this guy with his gamma powered genius brain, that his big plans are to play the Ross's secret meeting with him over the intercom and then just give himself up. Like
Yes, like I said, like
you cannot convince me that that was his master plan.
yeah, like it makes no sense that that was all he did with, 16 years worth of time was planning something like that. I would argue that the plot that they had in Winter Soldier, which I think is one of the most far-reaching, most ridiculous things they've ever done in Marvel, where we're like, okay, we have giant gunships in the air that can target people based on their genetic DNA signature somehow and kill people who we think are bad based on algorithmic predictions anywhere on the globe. That's
We
very far-fetched.
we do not talk about that low point in Winter Soldier.
Exactly. When people praise Winter Soldier so much, I'm like, Winter Soldier had one of the most ridiculous plots I have ever seen.
We do not talk about that low point. We talk about the highs mostly when we talk about
Yeah.
Winter Soldier.
But even that seemed like something more that the leader would do than what he does in this movie, which, like you said, is basically the player recording.
And okay, and also Red Hulk is here for about 4 minutes. And it just makes me so unreasonably angry because and this is what we've been asking for so long, just a Hulk being Hulk. And it lasts for 4 minutes. Gosh. And of course Sam is not gonna beat Red Hulk. There's no way he's gonna win, and he doesn't. But I kid you not, the way he beats Red Hulk is like, Ross, remember your daughter. And that works. Like they don't even fly her in or do like a, hey dad, it's me. I need you to calm down. No, he just goes up and be like, calm down, brother. And it works. Like what?
Yeah, I would argue that's why it was really funny because they have Sam, he deliberately gets Red Hulk to chase him to like the, garden where, he tells him like, remember you used to become over your daughter. And then Red Hulk still seems angry. Like, oh, well, that didn't work. But then, like you said, they just have Sam continue to kind of talk him down. Like, well, I kind of thought that they made fun of that not working, but then they kind of did the same thing. Where I
I was like,
agree.
yeah. I was like, we just saw it not work. Why is it working now?
Yeah, and I agree. Like I thought, could you kind of see Red Hulk gazing up? I thought, like, oh, well, he's gonna look up and see that his daughter is there, and they
Nope.
don't do that. And so maybe this is a weird place to maybe talk about this, but I want to talk about this. Liv Tyler, great actress, lots of famous roles. She's in this film, I think,
For about 30 seconds, I think.
because you see her at the end after Hulk just calms down and they end up taking him to the raft where they lock up all superhuman people. And Sam says you have a visitor, and it's Betty Ross, betrayed by Liv Tyler, who you see through the bars and the glass of the cell. And the first thing I thought was, did she ever actually show up to film this role? Because what it reminded me of is like when they do like CGI to be like, oh, this actress is dead,
Oh
but we're gonna
yeah.
try to
Like
figure out how to make him appear. I was like, did Liv Tyler not even film anything?
yeah,
Because you don't even see like
it's
a
like
full shot of her.
it's like young Princess Leia in Rogue One.
Yeah, exactly. But you see more of Leia, but because the way she was filmed through the bars and the glass, I was like, this seems like it's completely, totally CGI. Like she's not even, never even showed up to film something. So it was really bizarre. Where I was like, she is alive, right? Like I had to look up, like, yeah, she's been doing things. She's making, TV shows and movies. Like, so I feel like she was never even there on the set.
This movie just made me so upset to where that's why I gave it my bias 0 out of 5 earlier. The ingredients were there that we've been asking for literally years. And I'm just like, okay, Sam is going off against Red Hulk, but it's not really working. He's not winning. But like, okay, uh, what I was expecting to happen was Red Hulk to calm down a little bit and then just leave. Not expecting him to de-transform. I was expecting him to just leave.
Yeah.
Because that's what Hulk usually does when he calms down a little bit. He'll just leave because he's like, I'm tired of all you people. I'm tired. I want to take a nap. I'm going. Because what right when we get to the moment, we're just like, okay, well, we're getting a little bit good now. Sam is back up. Hulk is back up. Okay, it's good. It's going to look good. And then the movie's over. So I'm just like, there is no way you're gonna dangle this carrot on this stick for me. I was on the edge of my seat for 4 minutes, and you slapped me across my face. Marvel, you are not forgiven for this.
The way people view this film is going to have a lot to do with the marketing of the film. And we talked about this on our rant, episode. I really wish I had no idea that they were doing the Red Hulk for this film. I wish they had enough faith in the film that they did not reveal that because he's not going to be in the film nearly as much as people expect.
Exactly. For the advertisement, he's there for 4 minutes. It's
Yes.
so it's so unapologetically just like shameful.
He's clearly something that would have been an amazing surprise at the end of the film that sets up possibilities for more things in the future. And I'll argue in the script stitch up, they could have done a lot more with that. But it's clear that I think, like you said, people going into this expecting a lot of Red Hulk or expecting a Hulk film, this is not a Hulk film. This is a Captain America film where at the very end you realize Thunderbolt Ross has been, susceptible and this happens to him, then you're like, oh crap. Wow, this is amazing. This is a great moment, and I wonder how this is going to play out in future movies. This should no way, shape, or form have Red Hulk in the
Yeah.
advertisement.
And
It just shouldn't.
I'm gonna make a prediction, even though I have no basis of this. I would bet money that the script of this movie was made ages ago, intending for Hulk, but as time went on, they slowly wrote Sam in to replace Hulk. I'm
Yeah,
gonna bet money that that's what it probably happens.
yeah, like just from everything I've seen about the directors of Winter Soldier and Civil War, they were saying like, yeah, they thought about putting Red Hulk in Civil War, but they couldn't figure out how to work the story. And so, yeah, this should have happened a long time ago. There is nothing about this story that is centered on Captain America. This is residual Hulk stuff, that they just didn't know what to do with. And I think because it wasn't not their film and they were like, okay, but we're the Captain America people, they just decided not to touch it at all. So like that's why I keep saying this is just a film that's in the wrong phase. This would have been something that you would have done, like you said, with Bruce Banner, probably right after you did, Iron Man 3, the second Thor. Like this should be a phase two, a phase three at latest. This has no reason to be the end of phase five. It's way
Yeah.
too late. And so, since we've covered all of our main causes of celebration and causes of death, let's take a quick break to pay some bills, and we'll come back with our script stitch up. America needs strong leadership. America needs experience. America needs a man who's literally been through a world war, multiple regime changes, and at least 3 brainwashings. That man, James Buchanan Bucky Barnes. Why vote for Bucky? Military experience. Sure, some of it was against the US, but let's not dwell on that. Tough on crime. Because he was crime. Who better to reform the system than someone who broke it single handedly? Unkillable. A candidate who literally can't be eliminated or die. Strong foreign policy ties. He knows people in Wakanda. Can you say that about our current representative? Decades of political knowledge. He's 108 years old. That's at least a century of experience in understanding America's mistakes, many of which he was actually there for. Negative attack ads might call Bucky a former assassin, a Soviet sleeper agent, and a risk to national security. But let's be real. When has any of that stopped somebody from winning office? Vote Bucky Barnes for Congress. Because if he can survive Hydra, he can survive Washington, D.C., paid for by the committee to elect a super soldier, not a suit. All right, and we're back from break. And so Isaiah wanted to start off with a quick question.
Yeah, here's a little quick thinking exercise for my co-host here. If Red Hulk wasn't even in this movie, would you have enjoyed it as much as you did?
I think so. Because I think that the Red Hulk actually did not add much because he was simply on the screen for too little, far too late in the film. Red Hulk is not even a third act twist. It's a reveal that's almost like an extended end credit scene, honestly.
Yeah, it's like they're constantly building up to it, and then when they finally let that bomb explode, it just goes out like a fart.
Yeah, it's not even really, that much. So that's why I said, like, even if they didn't have that, where the reveal and the big action scene is just the battle at Celestial Island, and it's just Sam doing everything he can to prevent a world war from happening. Yeah, that's fine. Like, I think Red Hulk was more of a big teaser for what they might do. So yeah, I would enjoy it even without Red Hulk. Okay, and so let's move up into our script stitch ups. And so, as we
Yeah.
said, there's lots I think you could say is a script stitch up, or even more than the script, even, kind of where you place this film. So I think we might actually have a longer discussion about this than we usually do. And so, do you want to go ahead and kick it off?
Well, I feel like my stitch up might be too large for this because my whole stitch up idea is just make this a Hulk movie. So I feel like it might have just been like a corporate like situation behind the scenes because Sam, I love you. You for what this movie was, you did pretty good, but this was not your film.
So for me, and like I agree, there are some script stitch ups that would be too hard, and so I'm going to try to keep myself reined into like how do you change the movie that exists right here. And even with this, I would say add more Red Hulk. So Red Hulk's transformation does not happen until like literally like the last five, maybe
Yeah,
10 minutes of the film. To me, I think you add a lot, well, not even a lot more Red Hulk. Add some mystery that there is a Hulk-like thing or Hulk-like destruction happening that you maybe if you don't know that it's Thunderbolt Ross, you think that there is something going on that's happening. Like the fact that he doesn't change for the first time until very late in the film, it robs the film of that mystery and also just a bit more stakes of like, wait, this can't be Bruce. Bruce wouldn't do this. There are no other Hulks around, right? And so just I think start the film off that way. Give us an opening act of we see Hulk-like destruction and hear Hulk-like roars, and we're like, wait, that can't be Bruce, right? Maybe even play up that angle of Sam thinking like, wait, is this actually, Bruce? And
actually, you
do
know
that.
what? I think I'll take you higher than this. Actually, I feel like this movie could have worked better with more Red Hulk.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Because
saying. Like, give.
here's what I'm thinking. Because here's what I'm thinking. Maybe because again, like I said earlier, this movie is a mystery to everyone that already knows the answer. So here's my stitch up. Bring in Red Hulk's transformation way earlier in the movie, and then after Red Hulk goes off and he calms down and detransforms, have Ross being like by himself, just kind of like looking at his wounds and kind of like looking at himself in the mirror, just like, my God, is this what it was like for him? You know,
Yes,
something like that.
yes.
It was like it's like it's just something that could something that would show Ross finally understanding what Bruce have gone through his entire life.
110%. The biggest thing, like you said, the film robs of is not just Hulk. There is an entire arc for Thunderbolt Ross that's missing because you just see him calm down and then you see him in the raft in
Yeah,
prison
like
and
nothing happened.
nothing else happens. And Sam just says a really terrible exposition dump. Like, yeah, you took credit for everything, you resigned, and blah, blah, blah. But like you said, show him coming to terms with what he is, how much he hated Bruce, and
Yeah,
everything that he put Bruce through, actually give him that moment. I would take it a step further, even show us Ross doing something that shows that he changed even after turning into Red Hulk. They do that. They cheated that way in every Hulk film. You see Hulk, despite his rage, saying like, "Oh wait, I'm not gonna hurt those civilians, or I have to make sure those civilians don't get hurt." Give Ross a moment like that.
I'll take you up even higher because I this just came to me while you were talking. Like I said earlier, you can do like those little hints and moments where like Ross regrets and how he treated Hulk slash Bruce and have some empathy for how he's done it. So we could take this later to we could have the Hulk, Red Hulk, just smashing crap early in the movie, and then flash forward to the end of the movie where Sam and Red they're going at each other. Sam could do his powers of counseling and just try to talk down Ross, be like, "It's okay. This monster, there's this monster or something like that isn't you or whatever." And then Red Hulk could like look because they're like in a place with a whole lot of water. He could look in the water, see himself in the mirror, and just be like in a Hulk voice, "I'm a monster," and then just keep going at it. That would have been
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And they show him seeing himself slightly in the reflection of the White House earlier, but like you said, like I think that they didn't have enough of that recognition, that actual development post Hulk that you get. Like I could see Harrison Ford killing those scenes, you know? And so
Yes,
like
he could have been amazing in these moments, but they just wouldn't let it happen.
that's why I felt like there needed to be more, not just Red Hulk. There needed to be more of the actual Thunderbolt Ross in terms of who he is, and like you said, coming to terms with that. So I felt like that was something that they cut really short. So again, like I think you have to add not even more Red Hulk action. Again, like you said, like because what we're describing isn't really even more action. I don't care about watching Hulk smash stuff that
I
much.
do.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I agree
I
with you
do.
also. It looked amazing. Like when he's destroying the White House, it looks fabulous. I love it. Like the graphics and the special effects looks amazing on that. But like just get like that,
Yeah,
those
give us
emotional
more
beats.
like. See, the thing is, I here's a little compromise between what we're both saying. You can give us like the cool overtalk Hulk action, but add like have the aftermath of not Harrison Ford, but have the aftermath of Ross regretting and having deep empathy with Bruce because he wouldn't have a development if he didn't Hulk out and ruin everything.
Yes. And like we suggested before, actually have Liv Tyler show up to the set as Betty Ross. So, for my next script stitch up, let me ask you a question. This will hopefully lead into what I want to say. Why are all the governments of the world fighting over adamantium?
There is a reason, and
In
I'm sure it's there.
Yes, in the movie, what is the reason? Is it ever
I
actually stated?
I what I don't think I was listening that well. What did Ross say about adamantium when he was doing his quick little presentation?
Yeah, he just
Pretty much all
says,
the only thing I've heard, the only thing I remember him saying was that it's like this mystery metal, and
yeah,
that was
it can be
it.
used for almost anything.
I was like, well, if that's the case, then why don't we go into war over Wakanda?
Yeah. So one of the things I thought when we're talking about the leader, this guy will be unbelievably brilliant. I was like, why don't we show the leader being the person who came up with this idea of how they create or could use adamantium, or actually showing that adamantium is even useful for something because they don't show adamantium being used at all in this film. And so I felt like that was something that you could have done in the script to say like, oh wow, what is this new thing that it punctured the vibranium and it's like, oh, it's something called adamantium and it came from the celestial and we have to like. So it was like they just kind of dumped that so quickly that I thought like, oh, why don't you show and connect that to the leader somehow? Because
Well,
otherwise it's assuming that the audience knows that yes, this is what you're gonna coat Wolverine's bones in.
yeah. Again, like if you know nothing Marvel, this is not the movie to start with because they just want you to just accept so many things that only a fan would already understand. Because they just like, oh yeah, adamantium is the super metal. Some casual guys just be like, okay, and only people that understand what that means would want to understand, like, oh, I get why we're after this metal now. But the thing is, for what we have in the movie, we really don't know what this metal is, and yet we're
Yes.
going after it like it's the gold rush.
Yes, it's like literally about to start World War III over this, and they talk about the leader creating all these weapons, but again, it's always
I
tell,
was like,
not
what
show.
weapons did he
What
make?
weapons? Yeah, so I'm like, maybe give him credit for coming up with adamantium and how to make it weaponized and how to
Like,
extract it.
it could have been easy. It could have been while they were in like leader's office. They could have just like gone over through like his notes and be like, oh, the helicarrier, the blah blah blah, the blah 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 blah. These are all his designs.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Again, that would have been so easy to do.
So it's like, what has this guy been doing? Like, we don't really know.
Like so far, he's just the Gamma Pharmaceutical Company.
Yeah, yeah. They show that he did a really good job of keeping Thunderbolt Ross alive. So yeah, the thing that they show him being able to do, this is a mind manipulation through people's cell phones, which again is a scary premise. But like you said, it's not the first time we've seen that. It was just like, yeah, there's so much more that actually ties into not just the plot of this film, but the greater Marvel universe. That I was like, oh, well, that's it. They could have easily, I felt, given him more clear motivation and significance to the overall story. Again, yeah, show us why adamantium is important because you don't ever do that. I don't think you necessarily need to have Bucky in this film the whole time, but part of me also wonder why Bucky would not have been involved with this. Considering just the level of threat that Sam was dealing with and the fact that these two kind of play off each other so well. And also, the fact that they announced what Bucky was doing makes no sense to me at all. And I find it far-fetched. More far-fetched than the idea of the president turning to the Hulk was the fact that Bucky Barnes is now apparently going to be a congressman.
I forgot that's what he was going to be. I forgot about that. I was like, there's no way that he's going to be a congressman after all this. I was like, I understand he's doing like a redemption thing and he was pardoned and all that, but he was a elitist assassin. No,
An assassin for a foreign government becoming a congressman. Just too unbelievable for me.
I was just like,
Or maybe I'm just being naive.
maybe I expect too much from our government.
Yeah,
Maybe that's
maybe I
it.
expect too much from voters to not elect a former assassin for a foreign government as a congressman. Maybe I'm just being unrealistic.
Yeah, maybe we don't get into politics here because if Bucky can make it, I mean, just oh boy.
And so like I just felt I was like, okay, so if you're not gonna have Bucky in this film, let's at least give Sam some more colleagues that he can interact with. And like you said, I thought the new Falcon was good. They had good rapport, but when they sidelined him, in a good fashion, I liked that there were stakes involved with that. But when they sidelined him, then Sam was kind of only left with Ruth, who was like, okay, nobody likes Ruth. She's not an interesting person at all. So it was just really he was kind of left with nobody to interact with in that way, which was just a downside. So in summary, I would say for me, I'd still give this like a 3 out of 5. I think it could have been a lot more. I agree that this feels like it's in the wrong phase. This is a sequel to a movie that came out in 2008. But understanding that, I enjoyed myself. I had a smile on my face in several points of this film. I wish the marketing had not revealed the Red Hulk, especially since I think they could have done a lot more with him. But I really liked Anthony Mackie. I really liked the portrayal of Sam Wilson as a new Captain America. I hope they really follow up on these, trends and these themes in the future films. It's hard to say since Marvel is clearly rebooting everything for Phase 6. But again, it's average, it's mid. You can say it's that, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't boring. I'll give it that. I at no point during the movie I was bored, which is the biggest compliment I can give a movie in this day and age at all, because the movie was mostly boring.
Yeah, I would say being boring and also just being forgettable and not having good hero action. Those are the things I think Marvel has unfortunately kind of fallen into that realm with lots of its previous films, where, again, the films we kind of listed earlier, Eternals, Thor, Love and Thunder, Marvels, you know, Quantumania, none of the superhero action scenes were cool, fun, exciting, or any way, shape, or form in those films.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. Like, I want to see good superhero action in a superhero film, and I got that with Brave New World.
just just Marvel. If you're listening to me, here's a quick message for you. Captain America: Brave New World. This is now your bare minimum. Let's try to keep it above this from now on, okay?
Yes, I think that's fair. If Marvel can keep the film simply above this bar, they're doing really well because unfortunately they've fallen far below that bar, in the last like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, just keep it above this, and we'll be okay.
And so that's it for this episode of Movie Postmortem. Don't forget to like and subscribe and give us 5 stars because even bad podcasts deserve a good review. Remember, whether it's good, bad, or just a guilty pleasure, every movie deserves a postmortem. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.